Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
My name is Harry Wynne, or Henry Wynne. Wynne, actually, you can go back to the Welsh. I didn't know that until my son was talking a bit there. Always thought it was from Irish descent, but it turns out it's Welsh because the 17th century the Wynnes were in Wales and then they upset somebody. So they all migrated to Ireland. And then, um, so the Wynns name is in Ireland, spelled different ways. And eventually, the Irish side, they came over to this country uh, and established themselves and up here. So that's where it comes. So anyway, I was born on the 4th of October 1931. And the bits and pieces, my father was my mother was Ryup. Uh, so when I was born, I remember the first early days was in Ryup. 15 Mafeking Terrace on what they call it, Vinegar Hill, as it used to be known then. So anyway, it started off there. Uh, we did move, as I go, we did move around a lot. My father was a journeyman carpenter, and he remember living in different parts of the town. Uh, so my first schooling was Castletown. That's where I started school. Uh, that was the first time I caught scarlet fever. So I was in the children's hospital. Anyway, from Castletown, I remember we moved to Upchester Road, one or two places around. But anyway, eventually we started corporation. But in the meantime, we used to spend a lot of time up at 15 Mafeking Terrace in Ryan. My grandfather, he was, their side were all spiritualists. My grandfather was caught in a big fall of stone in the mine. He was 2 days buried, and from there he became a spiritualist. Uh, it was good at forecasting things. And the thing I always remember, the Follery House didn't have anything. The big room, a chair, a table, another chair. I mean, people had nothing there. And the kitchen was more or less at the back, a long one, a long formway, and the kitchen range at the other end. And one thing I remember, I must have been about 6 at the time, and I'd been in the larder at the end, and as I came out and I looked in the room, I saw this Chinaman sitting in the chair with the big cuffs and this smiling at me, and with this green hairs around him. And I just smiled back. I could still see. And the grandfather was sitting on the lawn. I said, "Grandad, there's a Chinaman." And he said, "Don't worry, he's my friend. He's my guide." And that's all I thought about that, but it's always stayed with me that. So that was all specialists on that side of the family. So anyway, along comes we eventually ended up, I was going to school at Hendon Valley Road. I remember the bits of leading up to it. I remember Edward, when they abdicated, we used to go around the street shouting, "Who's that coming down the street? Mrs. Simpson, sweaty feet." Just always remember these little things. Anyway, uh, so I met, anyway, the war's declared, and next thing, it was either the 9th or 10th of November, or was it October? No, October. I was just, I turned 8 then, and so like I was shipped off with the rest of the school kids with my little label and everything. And I was I had a little brown case with all my comics in. And off we went into this great big train journey to the other ends of the world. And we arrived at Northallerton. And we got out, of course, there was people all around, and all the ones from the school. Well, as a kid, I mean, I'm only 8, and next thing, I'm sort of lifted up and uh, I go away in this car with some people and end up at a place called Camp Hill. It was a mansion not far from Kirklington in North Yorkshire, down from Beedale. And went there, it was this a big mansion. There was Mr. Winterbottom was the butler, and there was the cook, housekeeper, and there was 7 maids. So one of the things you used to do on a night, run around pulling the curtains over for the blackout and everything. But eventually the maids started to get called up. So I was there about 10 months, and then the army requisitioned the hall and the grounds. So next morning I ended up with a family down at a place called Craighall. It's 2 miles from Beesdale on the road to Leyburn. So I was there with a family there, and it was at the end house of it was next door to the pub, the Black Pub, the pub there, and it was we only had oil lights, no running water. So one of the things you used to go, there was a pump in the front of the pub. You used to go around there and pump the water to take it. Eventually did get running water, but we had just oil lights, and so I sat down there. There was uh, she was a proper housewife, and he was a market gardener. He worked out at place now, and there was a son. He was going to the grammar school at Northampton, and the daughter she was good. Then she left and started work at the chemist's in Beedale. So I'm sort of a, a spare really, because I mean it was all right, but I mean there was no. I mean I never saw my mother till 1943. My father came and collected me in 43. I came back to Sunderland for about a week and a half for like a holiday. And full enough, that was the week, that was the heaviest raids on Sunderland. I remember standing on the air raid shelters on Corporation Road, on the ramp, watching what was happening over in Newcastle, and then all at once with the men lying flat on the ground when the guns behind on Tunstall started opening up and fighting a living, yeah. So I got through that bit back to Craighall, and there I was right in the centre of everything, because it was Leyburn, the army were up there. There was Leeming Bar and Catterick aerodromes. Well, most of the Canadian airmen used to drink at the pub next door. So as a kid, got to know all the airmen and everything. But you never went those days. You never went in a pub. Never got across the. It was a taboo. I mean, but you got to know everybody. And one of the things I always remember, because you got to know the airmen by the names, and I always remember saying, "Oh, there's Tom tonight," and I always saying to me, "He won't be coming back," because you used to see all the bombers taking off from Leeming and heading out. You used to see them coming back earlier, all shot in them and everything, and landing. One, two, had to drop the bombs, so you were in the middle of sort of everything. You see what was happening, and so from that got to know all the village. Of course, we had the home guard. So when they were being tested by the regulars who come up, they used to test. We used to follow them, of course, stand on the church wall and tell the home guard where the regulars. And the regulars used to say things to us like, "We didn't understand the language. Go away, little boy. Go away," something like that, or words to that effect. So you got to know what was happening. So anyway, but so not long after I arrived in Craighall, it was a village church, and they were very churchy. And so next thing, I'd never been in a church before, that's all you knew, I suppose. Next thing, thinking, well, what's happening? But anyway, eventually I'm pushed into the choir. So I started in the choir, and same at the school, singing. And eventually I came leading voice soprano. I was a lad from the smoke, and I was a leading voice soprano. And uh, so at the school, so the first time I went on the stage, it was the pantomime. The village there used to come to the other villages to see the pantomime. And anyway, so the first time I go on, it was a duel with the vicar's son. He was the same age as me, 8. And I had a straw boater, a stripy jacket, and he was in a gingham dress with a bonnet, and we sang uh, an old American music hall one. When you wore a tulip, when you wore a tulip, a sweet yellow tulip, and I wore a big red rose. But when you caressed me, 'twas then heaven blessed me. What a blessing no one knows. You made life cheery when you called me dearie. 'Twas down where the bluegrass grows. Your lips were sweeter than tulips when you wore a tulip, and I wore a big red rose. And then, of course, there was the verse, I met you in the garden. So, burlesque one. So anyway, I progressed from being the cat as well in the first. In the following year, I was promoted to Idle Jack. So that was part of the thing. So it was village life. The thing I always looked for was my comics. Because unless you had your comics ordered before the war, you didn't get them. So I used to get the Adventure, the Hotspur, um, comic cuts, and there was another one I can't remember at the moment. But anyways, my father used to. My father was called up, but he was invalided out because they were jumping onto a wagon for parachute training, and he fractured his skull. So when he first came to see me, he was in the blue uniform and white shirt and red tie, and so it was. Probably normal, I suppose, a country lad in me. I was a right out of Yorkshire lad when I came back. These all some all paying out, see all here, all staying out. And if that does out for out, always see what he said. So I got to be a little Yorkshire lad. So it's got to know all the village and everything and different things. And eventually, of course, war ended and I came back home. And for my life, I remember, all I remember is I think I was brought back on a bus where I was picked up from other evacuees that were still there and driving back. So that was the 16th of November 1944 when I came back. So I was nearly 5 years evacuated. And I always remember the day we came back, as a reception at West Park School. That's one of the old ones. In the school restaurant, and the mayor was there, and I'd never seen it, with his gold chain and everything, and big thing, the women's voluntary service. They were all there, and there were sandwiches and pop and everything, and they were coming back. So I've come back for normal life sort of thing. But during the war, we were bombed out. The landmine dropped on Corporation Road, number 19 Corporation Road, and Eden Valley Road School. It was a landmine drop right in the middle. So mother and father, they relocated in a big house in Otter Terrace. And so when I came home, it was Otter Terrace. So then there was Chester Road School that I went to. So at Chester Road School, I didn't have any. The friends I sort of had were back. So I really come into some, no friend, really no friends at all. You know what I mean? But anyway, so progress. So by the time I'm 14, I'm leaving school, start work, and I had an inkling to go. Wanted to go on the railway uh, because as part when I was evacuated, I used to go to Craighall Station. The lad I used to know, it was termed as the station master, but it was a porter that used to come down from Beedale, and they used to push the gates over for the train and the lever freight. So I had this inkling, I like, so I applied for the railway, but there was a waiting list then. So I had to look for, so they ended up at Liverpool House as a shop assistant downstairs in the hardware. That was still when you had the roller balls and the for the change and everything. So anyway, and then I hated it. It was terrible. So I went down to the Labour Exchange. I said, I don't like it there. I said, oh, well, right, he says, looking for an office boy at Bartram's, not in Shipyard. So I went down there, had an interview, came back. In the meantime, I'd had a medical for the London North Eastern Railway, and so I had this medical. And so anyway, the following Monday, there was two letters which came from them. One saying I started Bartram's as an office boy, and the other one I could start on the London North Eastern Railway as a boot lad. And so I went on the railway. So I started on the railway at uh, learning the ropes. Really did a bit of messenger first on a bike for all the guards when they were on different shifts. Used to get a ticket to tell what goods trains that they were going to work on it. So I cycled a lot around. So eventually the opening comes up. So I go to train as a book lad for the signal box. And it was in Forster Street Junction. That's the one just below West Park Church, where you go down the steps. So did 6 weeks training as a book lad. And well, passed out, and I went to Tile Shed Signal Box as a book lad. And of course, it was a busy box because you had the two level crossings, you had the South Shields branch as well then. And so I settled down. I loved the railway. I thought I would have been there the rest of my life. But anyway, so I wanted to progress. So anyway, I progressed to senior book lad and as a relief book lad. So I started doing as a relief lad the big boxes at Gateshead, King Edward Bridge, Greensfield Shed High, all those. So all the power levers in it. So I brought up as a so I loved it every moment of the. Still, you'll see on this Facebook people on the railway about the two trains coming over the King Edward Bridge at 10 o'clock in the morning. One's the King's Cross going off one way, and the other one's the Leeds come round by Sunderland. Well, it's a book that I tend to see those coming over the bridge every morning, different things like that. So I love that. So anyway, we get to I'm 18, so I go away having medical for the army, well, for the national service. So I went to Sandyford Place in Newcastle, had my medical. It was a bit up and down about me heart then. It seemed as though it raced or something. So I remember there was about 7 doctors round the table and had a good decision. And then sort of, yes, I would be all right to be called up. So I get called up. My papers come now. This is February February 1950. Get called up and go get the train. I was to go to Elgin, number 8 Training Regiment, Scottish Command at Elgin. So I went up the train. So from Sunderland, it was I think about 8 o'clock at night. Time we came out. Away I go. what a hell of a journey that was. So we changed at Newcastle and on another train, and changed at Edinburgh. Because you had your case and everything, and there was other lads that were, and then we got on the train, and that was going to Elgin. And what a hell of a journey that was. It was winter, of course, there was snow. Got there, and of course, when you piled out on the back of a wagon and were thrown in and shouted at, eventually issued a uniform and got on with things. And so it started to become a soldier. And went through all kinds of things, explosives, watermanship, because the first part I was Royal Engineers, so I went through sappers training. And so anyway, there was me and one of the other lads who both got tonsillitis and we were put to medic. So, so when we came out, we didn't want to get back squatted, because if we were back squatted, we would go with the other intake. So I said, we'd like to have a go because you had to pass off. So we both had this tonsillitis. Well, by God, we went through it. One part was going up the rope with full kit, and you had to touch the top of the gym and come through it, and then carry somebody, I forget how many 100 yards, and there was snow, ice and everything, and even your shorts and your vest. Got through it, so I wasn't back so when I passed off and everything. Next thing were headquarters, then next thing we started getting shipped out. They were coming around for paratroopers as well. They were trying to go for. Anyway, next thing I was sent down to Hampshire, Longmoor, the training regiment there, and then sort of things started happening. I didn't know what was happening, but I started doing strange little courses with strange people, and I didn't know what this was leading up to, but sort of complete the thing at so when it comes to the end. Train and first postings Korea. Korea was used to go down the GHQ, look at the big map of Korea, and there was how everything was changing. So I knew where Busan was, knew everything about Korea. The night before I was taken off the draft, and then I was put down for Malaya in Singapore. The emergency was just starting there with the communists and that in Malaya. And then taken off that draft the night, and then all at once I'm put on draft for Aden. The same thing happened then. Then straight after Aden, I'm put down for Suez. Never went in. I was almost taken. And the next thing, Hounslow, Cavalry Barracks, Hounslow. So Eastern Command. So I got there. By then, I'd been transformed. I was really nothing to do with the Royal Engineers then. I was going into. Anyway, it'll go. So there's two of us posted down. So the first lad, he was from Grimsby, and he was posted to number 1 military correct the prison at Colchester. So now and then, right, he says, you've had no choice. He says, you've been earmarked. You're going to the British Embassy staff in Paris. So the next thing, well, I'll go away to the British Embassy staff in Paris. And things started to change. When I got to Paris, this is 1950, and Paris was just recovering from the war then. Everything was starting to change. And I arrived there was 3 other so they through D-Day and everything, they were waiting demolished. And I'm the new lad coming at 18, green as grass, naive. So Ginger Hudson, the lad from, he was from Leeds, he took me under his wing, and he was called up during the war as a Bevan boy. At the end of his training, when he went down the pit, he fought his way back into the pit, up. He says, he put the 5 squad, and I'm not going down that bloody pit. He went right through DD and everything. So I was took under his wing and I started learning the ropes. So at 18-year-old I started to learn the ropes and taking responsibility. And my life changed from there. And I was put at a little family hotel, a Pension de Famille, just down from the Arc de Triomphe, Neuss-sur-Seine. And the landlady, she was Swiss, Mademoiselle Naderhausen. She spoke 7 languages. And I started learning colloquial French. I never really spoke French, colloquial, like a Londoner, a Cockney. And so I was starting to learn things like that. And so the regulars, they're away. It's me, the new lad. Because the nearest army thing was Fontainebleau, Montgomery's headquarters. There was no British servicemen in Paris. So anyway, the Christmas was really no, sorry, it was Christmas morning. That was it. She got a telephone call. She says, "Oh, it's for you." Oh, says the British Embassy security staff. Oh, yeah. So, oh, you have to get yourself straight down here. So, well, I got the metro at the end of the street down to going there. So, oh, he says, he says, that bloke sitting in the corner wants to give himself up. Oh. So, I walk up or two, and this bloke starts standing up. He was about 6'8", like that. And he says, well, I was Lance Corporal then, you know, military priest, provost. Right, he says, he says, don't worry. He says, I was the Warrant Officer 1 with the British military delegation in Tel Aviv. He says, 3 months ago I skipped with the Empress and I've got nothing left, so I've decided to give myself up. So I've got a warrant officer giving himself up to me. So I thought, but he says, so I thought, well, I get to try to get the military attaché. And he always, don't bother. He says, he says, before the war, they all know me. He says, I've got a tendency to cut up rough. I'm sitting there. So eventually I thought, oh, well, doing one. So I phoned Fontainebleau, and that was Western Union Army headquarters there. And I said, I've got a warrant officer which I'm supposed to be arresting. So one of the staff sergeants said, right, old lad, he says, well, so 2 of the RMP lads came up from Fontainebleau and took him into custody and off. I met him again about a month later, because I was up at the airport with his security clearances, and he was in handcuffs going back there. So that was my initiations to things. And the next thing, I'm pushed in any VIPs that were travelling. And so that was the first time I was pushed off. The regulars were trying to give up. And I was pushed into all these things. So the first thing to meet Lieutenant General Reddy on the Garden Horse Station. He was travelling on the Golden Arrow, and I had to do his clearances and everything. So not only put Garden Horse, and all at once somebody tapped on my shoulder. I looked round, there's a small boat, clip moustache, Trilby, walking. Oh, looking at me, oh well, who are you? I'm Major General Red. Oh, no, don't bother with all that, lad. He says, we just talk. There was 2 English girls just at the side. Oh, I said, are you sure he's a British soldier? Came, so would you take our photographs in front of the old narrow with them? Oh, that's it. The general said, right, the corporal says, don't take their photographs. So
We'll leave it
took
there,
their
Harry.
photographs. And that was so that was a first.
So that was a very interesting first part of your life.
Yes.
It's totally free to subscribe to our channel, and we'll let you know when there's a new video to watch. The subscribe button is below the video, next to the like, share and comment icons. The link to our Facebook site is in the top comment right next to our link to explore the Sunderland Antiquarians website.